Welcome to the Orient Brief. I'm Ahmetcan Uzlaşık. Today, we are following some big moves happening across the world. From the White House in Washington to the streets of Istanbul, from Tehran to Gaza. At the center of it all is a secret meeting between Donald Trump and Benjamin Netanyahu. The decisions made there are changing how countries in the Middle East are working together. It all started on April 7, a Monday. In the Oval Office at the White House, there was a feeling of urgency. President Trump sat down with Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu. The main topics on the table were important: the nuclear talks with Iran, the ongoing conflict in Gaza, and growing tensions between Israel and Turkey. Netanyahu shared his worries about the problems with Turkey. Trump, as always confident, didn't seem too concerned. He reminded everyone he had a special relationship with Turkey's President Erdoğan. Then Trump made a sharp comment. "Remember Pastor Brunson? I got him out of Turkey." This took everyone back to 2018. Pastor Andrew Brunson, an American missionary, was arrested in Turkey after a coup attempt. He was accused of espionage and having links with terrorism, causing a huge political crisis between the US and Turkey. Trump demanded that Turkey release Brunson. Turkey refused. In response, the US placed heavy tariffs and sanctions on Turkey, causing the Turkish lira to crash. Under great pressure, Turkey finally freed Brunson, but the trust between Turkey and the US was deeply hurt. That wasn't the end. Over the following years, there were more trade disputes, sanctions on Turkish officials, public threats, and political tension. Now, in 2025, Trump was again showing that he still has power to influence countries, especially Turkey. The timing of the meeting between Trump and Netanyahu raised concerns back in Turkey. Just days before, Istanbul's Mayor Ekrem İmamoğlu, who is a strong political opponent of Erdoğan, was arrested. His university degree was suddenly declared invalid, sparking accusations of political interference. Many opposition leaders said the Turkish government was manipulating the courts. Some even suggested that the US had quietly supported this crackdown. Senator Chris Murphy hinted that Trump's close ties with Erdoğan might have given the green light for this arrest. At a large rally, opposition leader Özgür Özel asked, "Did you get permission from America?" Turkey's Justice Minister Yılmaz Tunç quickly called this idea nonsense, but suspicion remained, especially after Trump's boastful comment about Pastor Brunson. "I got the pastor out. Big deal." To help explain these complex political moves, we spoke to Yusuf Can, a foreign policy expert. Here's what he had to say.
The meeting between Turkish President Erdoğan and American President Donald Trump in March was followed by a meeting in person in Washington, D.C. between U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio and Turkish Foreign Minister Hakan Fidan. The discussions were on similar issues, from Syria to Gaza to Ukraine to Bosnia to Turkish involvement in the F-35 deal and so forth. So there was a number of issues that was on the table. Obviously, compared to the Biden administration, Trump administration has a different approach to the Turkish government and to its Turkey policy. Obviously, Erdoğan and Mr. Trump have a much more positive relationship as opposed to Biden and Erdoğan's relationship. So that makes a big difference. Plus, Trump and the U.S. government is looking forward to working with Ankara in both Syria and against Iran and in Ukraine and in a number of other issues. So the meetings and the discussions are no surprise, obviously. In addition, we all know by now that either Trump will visit Ankara or Erdoğan will visit Washington, D.C. to further the engagement between the two governments. However, there is a different side to this issue, these meetings. While these meetings were happening and while the discussions were on Middle Eastern issues or Ukraine or Balkans, Istanbul Mayor Ekrem İmamoğlu was illegally arrested by the Erdoğan government, and which has been described by many analysts and experts as a coup, a civil coup, if you will. And because of the timeline of the meetings between Erdoğan and Trump and Fidan and Rubio, a lot of people, including the Turkish opposition leader, have speculated that the arrest of Istanbul Mayor Ekrem İmamoğlu was actually backed by the U.S. government, by Trump himself. In fact, Özgür Özel, the leader of the opposition party, argues that Erdogan got the green light from Trump on the phone call on March 16th, and then 3 days later, on March 19th, Ekrem İmamoğlu was arrested. A lot of people are speculating about this, but I think it's too early to determine whether there's any truth to that or not. But at the same time, such a big move by the Erdogan government to detain and arrest his main opponent in the upcoming elections, an opponent that was actually on track to beat Erdogan after his 20-plus year tenure in government. So this and essentially Erdogan and Trump believe that they have to work together to achieve their goals. So it wouldn't be really surprising if Erdogan actually mentioned the upcoming arrest of İmamoğlu and what was going to unfold after that to Mr. Trump. Obviously, that doesn't entail getting permission or getting a green light from the American president, but at the same time, such a big move, it would be surprising, essentially, if the U.S. government was not aware of what was happening in Turkey. Obviously, there is no evidence for that, but Özgür Özel, the opposition leader, wouldn't have just said that if there was no at least signals from the Turkish bureaucracy or Turkish sources that this was indeed the case. So I think, plus knowing both leaders, both Mr. Trump and Erdogan, this arrest wouldn't be something that the U.S. government would be bothered by anyway. So I believe that, yes, it's mere speculation at this point with no evidence whatsoever. But at the same time, they're not baseless speculations. They're understandable speculations. So we will see a lot more collaboration between Erdogan and Trump in the coming days and months, obviously, because they have aligned goals. But we shall see, obviously.
And that's a wrap on today's discussion. As we have heard, the growing relationship between Presidents Trump and Erdogan is shaping key decisions across the Middle East, with significant implications for Turkey's future and its place on the world stage. The arrest of Istanbul Mayor Ekrem İmamoğlu adds another layer of complexity, fueling speculation about the involvement of external powers and the balance of political forces in Turkey. With both leaders' goals aligning in Syria, Ukraine, and the broader region, it is clear that their collaboration will continue to evolve. However, as always, the lines between speculation and reality remain blurred. Time will tell us how much influence these international partnerships will have on the political landscape at home and abroad. Thank you for tuning in. Stay informed, stay curious, and we will be back with more in the next edition of Orient Brief. See you next time.